10 Facts about the great conqueror Genghis Khan. 1. Genghis Khan killed his brother for food. Genghis Khan was born into the family of the influential chieftain Isugi, but the boy's position in society changed when his father was poisoned by an enemy tribe. His family was driven from their home, and they were forced to seek a means of subsistence. When Genghis Khan was 14 years old, he caught a large fish and brought it to his family. But his half-brother Bektar snatched the fish from his hands and ate it himself, refusing to share it with anyone. Enraged, Genghis Khan chased his brother until he shot him with a bow. 2. Genghis Khan beheaded people over 90 centimeters tall. When Genghis Khan was 20 years old, he led a campaign against the tribe that killed his father and took revenge. The Tatar army was defeated, and Genghis Khan proceeded to exterminate people in an incredibly unusual way. Each Tartar was placed next to a cart and measured for his height compared to the axle of the wheel, which was at 90 centimeters. Anyone who was taller was beheaded. In fact, only children were spared. 3. The piles of bones of his victims were confused with the mountains. In 1211, Genghis Khan turned his eyes to modern China and attacked the Jin Empire. This seemed a rash decision. The Jin Empire had 53 million people, and the Mongols had only 1 million. Nevertheless, Genghis Khan won. Within 3 years, the Mongols had reached the walls of Zhongdu, now Beijing. The city walls were 12 meters high and stretched for 29 kilometers around the city. Since it was impossible to take them by storm, the Mongols decided to besiege the city and wear it down. By the summer of 1215, cannibalism was rampant in the city, and eventually Zhuangdu surrendered. The Mongols sacked and burned the city, slaughtering all its inhabitants. A few months later, an eyewitness wrote that real white mountains were formed of the bones of the slaughtered, and the ground was greasy with human fat. 4. Genghis Khan made a warlord of the archer who shot him. During a war with the Mongol clan Taishigud, an arrow hit Genghis Khan's horse, killing the animal on the spot. The fallen horse crushed him, but he was able to escape. Genghis Khan's army won the battle, and he demanded that all the prisoners be lined up in front of him and asked who had fired the arrow. Unexpectedly, the archer Jib came forward and confessed that he had fired the arrow and wanted to kill Genghis Khan. The famous warlord was so impressed by Jib's bravery that he made him a commander in his army. Jib later became a general and one of Genghis Khan's most loyal friends. 5. Genghis Khan gave his daughters in marriage to his allies. One of the ways Genghis Khan seized power was by marrying off his daughters to allied rulers. When such a marriage took place, it effectively meant a death sentence for those rulers. First, for the privilege of marrying one of Genghis Khan's daughters, they had to banish all their other wives. Monogamy had nothing to do with it. Genghis Khan simply had to make sure that his daughters were the only ones in line for the throne. The rulers were then sent off to fight at the head of the army, with almost every one of them dying in battle at once. By the time of Genghis Khan's death, his daughters ruled an area stretching from the Chinese Yellow Sea to the Iranian Caspian Sea. 6. Genghis Khan exterminated 1.7 million people, avenging one. His daughters' marriages may have been strategic alliances, but that does not mean that these alliances were devoid of romance. One of Genghis Khan's daughters was very fond of her husband named Tekuchur. Genghis Khan himself treated him as his adopted son and loved him very much. When Tekuchur was killed by an archer from Nishapur, his wife demanded revenge. Genghis Khan's troops attacked Nishapur and slaughtered everyone in their path, including women, children, and animals. According to some estimates, 1,748,000 people were killed. All those who were defeated were then beheaded, and their skulls were stacked in a pyramid at the request of Genghis Khan's daughter. 7. The Mongols celebrated their victory on the Russian nobility. In 1223, when the Mongol army marched victoriously through Kievan Rus, it won the Battle of the Kalka River. The Mongols decided to celebrate the victory in a very peculiar way. The commanders of the army of Kievan Rus and the nobility were forced to lie on the ground, after which they placed heavy wooden gates on them, on which chairs and tables were placed. After celebrating their victory literally on the bodies of their enemies, the Mongols crushed them to death during the feast. 8. Genghis Khan had the river set to a new course. When Genghis Khan discovered the Muslim kingdom of Khwarezm, he did something unusual for himself. He tried to establish peaceful relations. A group of diplomats was sent to the city, hoping to establish a trade route and establish diplomatic ties. The ruler of Khwarezm, however, did not believe them. He thought the diplomats were part of a Mongol conspiracy and had them executed. He also killed the next group the Mongols sent to negotiate. Genghis Khan was furious. He tried to make peace, and in return he received dead diplomats. Eventually an army of 200,000 Mongols attacked and completely destroyed Khwarezm. Even after victory, Genghis Khan sent 2 more armies to burn every castle, town and farm in the region and make sure that not the slightest hint of Khwarezm remained in history. If legend is to be believed, he even had the river rerouted to flow through the place where the emperor of Khwarezm was once born. 9. Genghis Khan destroyed the state of the Tanguts. When Genghis Khan attacked Khwarezm, he asked the previously conquered Xia kingdom, the Tangut state, to send troops to his aid. The Tanguts refused to do so, something they greatly regretted. The Mongol army marched through Xia, destroying everything in its path. All the people were slaughtered, and by the end of this campaign Xia was wiped off the face of the earth. Since the Tanguts did not record their own history, their state today can only be judged by records from neighboring countries. Their language remained dead for more than 700 years. It was not until the mid-20th century that archaeologists unearthed stones with inscriptions in Tangut. 10. All the people who participated in Genghis Khan's burial were killed. When Genghis Khan died, according to the great ruler's will, he had to be buried where no one could find his remains. In order to fulfill his wish, the slaves, accompanied by soldiers, carried the body many kilometers into the depths of the desert. To make sure that the slaves would never divulge the secret of the burial site, the soldiers overpowered them and dumped the bodies in a mass grave. The soldiers then rode horses over the grave for a day to cover all traces and planted trees over it. When the soldiers who participated in the funeral procession returned back to camp, they were immediately killed. Genghis Khan's grave has not yet been found.